Good. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the second Tuesday Designer Chat. Sorry, we didn't do it last week.
Or as I'm going to call it Coal Chat. Because we get to talk about coal. I'm teasing.
That's true. That's why they couldn't do it last week. I wasn't here.
Yeah. I would have been here alone talking about coal. Where were you last week?
I went to Italy to a game convention. Neither of which is necessarily advisable, but they did a really good job with safety. I was in Play Modena, which is a lot like PAX Unplugged, and I got to accept the Goblin Magnifico, which is one of Italy's big game awards, on Root's behalf. And I learned a lot about the Italian game scene and met a lot of wonderful folks and played some Root and showed off some of the new stuff. And did a pretty good job not, being scared of the pandemic. Although I will say, one thing I told Patrick when I got in was, it was amazing how they would check your vaccine card everywhere. It was wonderful.
And 6-minute swab tests.
Yeah, the tests, it was so easy to get a COVID test. I could
In every
just
pharmacy.
I could just do it right after breakfast, just get a quick COVID test. So, but I was gone for like a week and a half, and then I worked from home a little bit, and I'm now back, and we're getting back into things.
I did one on Sunday, and it was a day wait, and it took me half an hour to get it.
And it's kind of a crazy, you had to go to the airport.
Yeah, I had to go to the airport, yeah. So
It is wild that the St. Paul Corner Drug doesn't seem to have COVID tests. I think they might now, but a lot of the pharmacies don't.
I've been there in a while. Anywho, cool. Well, tell me about what have you been playing?
So I played The Cost when I was in Italy,
Mm-hmm.
and it was amazing. It was so good. I had been meaning to play it for a long time. This is a game about asbestos mining. Hot topic, I know. But it was just really remarkable. I think I was telling this to Patrick earlier, more than any game I've played recently, or maybe any game I've played, it really understood the logic of transnational corporations, and it was horrifying and bracing and just really, really, really compelling, and I cannot wait to explore it more. So that's what's been on my mind. Patrick, what about you? What have you been playing?
I've been playing Paint the Miniatures.
Paint the Miniatures. Cool. Solo game. Hopefully not a roll and write.
No, I've been really focused on painting. My wife and I are still working. We chip away at the initiative occasionally, which has been fun. It stresses me out now because we've not lost a game, and so I'm like, I can't break this streak.
Okay, I see. So it's not like it's feeling too easy. It's just
no. Now I'm tense about it. So we've made some pretty big here's the pattern of what's happening, so we'll make a big guess and get it right before we lose the game. So and so that stresses me out. So, but I haven't really been. I've been playing our stuff really.
Yeah, I'm right on that edge now that so school started here, and I'm starting to imagine a world where I'm gonna have a little bit more time. I'm like, do I need to? Is it time to restart a game group for economic games? Am I trying to figure that out right now? But I think before I have to do that, Katie and I want to start playing another Arkham campaign. Mm-hmm. So we're thinking about doing an Arkham card game campaign in the build-up for Halloween.
That sounds fun.
Yeah, so I think we might do Dunwich again. We've done Dunwich a couple times, or we might go to Carcosa. We really enjoy it. But
what you should do is call us and tell us when to play it, and then we'll play it. Yeah. Got it.
It's I saw a review. I think it was a Charlie Thiel review of the Arkham card game, which I thought really nailed it.
Mm-hmm.
In that, as a storytelling game, it's pretty weak.
Sure.
If you just play it for narrative, it can feel pretty flat. But as a strategic puzzly game, it's very good. So I think when people play it for plot twists, they're getting just the smallest part of what the game can do.
Interesting. It kind of bounced off my wife, who she likes Arkham a lot.
Yeah, the core scenarios, the first two are not
kind of bounced anyway. Yeah, that's true. So.
When we played the scenario that was on the train, that was the one that we got into, where you had to move up a train and the train's being eaten.
Well, I'll give that another shot. So, with all of our ample time.
You haven't missed anything, North Ave. We're just catching up.
We're just catching up with each other, which we kind of did this morning anyway.
But but this is catching up with each other for others.
So I wrote on the agenda we should talk about Root.
Nobody can see this because of how the camera's pointed, but we have all the new Root stuff.
I'm literally gesturing at nothing.
Laying out right here.
Yeah, from your perspective.
So we have all the Root PVCs, and we want to show them to you. We'll kind of take them like product by product and go through it all. And before we say that, just for folks who haven't been part of this process before, pre-PVC stands for pre-production copy, and these are made using print files, but they're made in a shop. So, for instance, they're going to be using like a laser cutter instead of a punch press. We can talk about how we can see the differences in those things as we get into it. Is there anything you want to say about all of them laid out here?
Well, I want to say the rest of the agenda.
Oh yeah, go ahead. Sorry, Patrick, keep talking. I'm gonna take 5.
And then we could talk about our designs we're working on.
Yes.
I have some Dungeon Fortress issues I'd love to discuss with you.
Yeah, let's do it.
And then we can open up for questions if we still have time. Though that sounds like a long show. So.
Yeah, we'll see how long it takes to get to the new stuff. But let's do it. So we're going to do Root stuff now, and then we'll talk about some upcoming new design things, some cutting edge stuff.
Congrats to Pandasaurus for recovering your stuff.
Oh, do they?
Yeah, it all got recovered.
Excellent.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about
Perfect. Okay. So, as I said, these pre-production copies are made in shops, which means there are going to be some imperfections and things like that. Don't worry about them. And I'll try to call them out as we see them. The other thing you should know about them is that when we did the Kickstarter, I'm trying to think of the right way to explain this. When we priced the Kickstarter, we priced it mostly to figure out how to give backers like the absolute best deal possible. But the question of how exactly this game would look in retail was always going to be kind of a little looser and a little bit more open. And our general rule as a company is like there are no Kickstarter exclusives. So everything you can get on the Kickstarter page, you'll be able to buy from us at some point in the future. And so we did a little bit of like product reorganization. It doesn't change anything that y'all will be getting. But you might see some products and think like, oh, did I back that? And the answer is like almost certainly, yes, you did. You're fine. Don't worry. Okay, so let's start with Marauder.
It's funny he thinks about that because if it were up to me, everything would just be in a box.
Yeah.
And then you start like, what about retail? And I'm like,
that's the rest of everyone else's job to think about
the
that.
development. Yeah.
Okay, so here it is. This is the Root Marauder box. How heavy do you think this is compared to Underworld? Maybe
It might be a few ounces heavier.
Yeah, I think it's like Underworld has that second mounted map, but this one's got some other stuff in it. So yeah, there it is, the Root Marauder box.
We stuck with the same illustrator.
We stuck with Kyle. We really liked him, and we felt bad. I love this box. This box also has forest trees because all of the tree patterns on the boxes are different seasons, and so this one got the white sides. You can show them the sides, and you'll see this label whenever we get print and production copies. We always print a little label out that you can see there, just so we know that this is a pre-production copy and we don't get it confused with other things. There you go, the full picture. I think Patty did the box layout on this one.
I certainly didn't.
Yeah, she did a fab job. You can show the back too.
Mm-hmm. This is one of my favorite drawings from Kyle there, and I love the rat moods. Yeah.
Yeah, they're really good.
Yeah.
So pretty heavy. There's a lot of stuff in there. We kind of follow, for something like Root, whenever we go to like box layout, we're really just trying to follow whatever the style is that we've already established in the previous games.
This one feels thicker. The cover, there's more story going on here to me. Yeah, I never really like it. So.
There's compared to like Riverfolk is such like I really like Riverfolk's cover, but it's also like the simple kind of emptier one. Mm-hmm. And this one's got like a lot of characters. But that was part of what we wanted to communicate. Kyle wanted to communicate with the art was like this is a very bustling expansion. And yes, it's true. If you pre-order through our website or on BackerKit, you're getting stuff the Kickstarter folks are getting. Now there are basically 3 pledge tiers here. There's the just Marauder basic pledge tier, which if you got the Marauder Kickstarter, here you can hold that box, you'll get that thing, and then you'll get this Riverfolk Hireling pack, which we'll talk about in a little bit. And then if you back at the $80 level, you got that plus the Riverfolk Hirelings. Oh, sorry, and the landmarks. You'd also get the landmarks this is one pledge level. And then at the $80 pledge level, you also get this.
That's not all.
And this, which we'll talk about, don't worry. And then if you backed at the level above that, you also got...
I have a hand.
No, it's part of the act. No, this too. So anyway, you get a lot of stuff.
It takes 2 adults
to hold all the things if you're trying to show the for a kid. Okay, cool. So let's open up Marauder and talk through it. Internal printing here brought by the Keeper's back art, which looks great. And then you're first confronted with staples of the line, a fresh copy of the law, and the new Learn to Play. This law is 24 pages long. It's the longest law we've done. And it is so long because in addition to having all the previous rules, we added a real beefy appendix, which includes like the rules for advanced setup and all the different product component manifests. And there's now a glossary that's new, and there's an index that's new and improved. The law is vastly expanded.
I like the Death Stranding comparison. I think will be. We have to do that parody of someone carrying all the root content on their back.
Yes, and Marshall makes a very good point. If you bought at the $80 level, instead of getting a bunch of these little tuck boxes, which you're probably just going to pitch, everything is going to be inside this box. It'll be like a very full box, and I'll talk about that in a second. Okay, so then also there's a Learn to Play. Now I wanted to highlight this for one reason. Most of the time we do our Learn to Plays, we try to keep them very, very short. And so like the Riverfolk Learn to Play is like 8 pages. Most of them are 8 pages. But for this one, we opted, after seeing how well people responded to the playbook for Oath, to do a longer Learn to Play. So even though the new factions are, by word count, some of the lightest factions that we've ever put in Root, Patrick, very, very clean, stripped down designs. But the actual Learn to Play has tons of examples, and we really held your hand and walked through it. And we also have examples on how the hirelings work, and the advanced setup rules are all in here. And then, of course, there's recommended faction mixes. Okay.
There are.
Yeah.
This is news to me, everybody.
Yeah, we had space on the last page and thought, just throw a couple.
This is amazing.
Now this right here is a punchboard sprue. And you might ask yourself, why the heck did they keep this? Well, we always keep these for pre-production copies because we can double check them later and just make sure that there were the correct counts and things like that. Complexity of each of the new factions, we'll talk about in just a second. If that focus is going to work on these.
I'm showing her.
So we have 2 new player boards for the 2 new factions. Here they are. Now both of these, so the Keeper complexity is high. However, the actual rules of the Keepers are not bad at all. It's just they're hard to play well. But yeah, there you have their lovely board. And then here is the hundreds. And their complexity is moderate. I think, again, by word count for the rules, these are about as easy as any faction we've produced. But they can be tricky to play well. I do really bad. I don't think I've ever won as playing the Warlord.
Oh, I've definitely.
Yeah, with the Keepers, I can win. The Warlord, I think, is kind of hard.
Let's see, that's the opposite. I've not had good luck with the modern Keepers.
And then here we can show you guys some lovely things. And actually, here you go. So as a special treat for you all, I have a little I'll put up here in the corner. Bloop. Nope, that way. It's above Patrick's head. This is we'll have a little shadow box here. So these are the faithful retainers, and I will put them on here.
Can I frame it with my hands?
Yes, you may. I can even move it down. Low key, my favorite art from Kyle is the way he does card
That
backs.
was terrible.
I love Kyle's card backs. I think they're great. I'm going to back this a little bit bigger. Not too big. There you go. I think, and I also like that the faithful retainers get to be birds, because one of the principles of Root is that like the factions are cosmopolitan. And then here's some more Keeper pieces. I love how this metal turned out. There's like no way to really capture it in the renders, even though the 3D renders we had for the campaign were really great.
Yeah, you just can't. You can't make it metallic. Yeah.
And then here, I'm going to make this. I'll blow this out for everybody. Here you go. Ooh, that's the wrong one.
Birds.
Let me see if I can't move this around to be a little bit. There you get that close-up view. And then let's get some of their buildings.
He's just covering it for the fact that I'm crying really hard. Showing no emotion in my voice.
The different buildings, the different tokens, everything that they need for them. Sorry that this camera is shaking. It's because this whole building shakes when trucks go by that we're in.
Yeah, the advantage of this site is Cole's office looks down on the light rail for St. Paul. Yes, the disadvantage is light rails here.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Anyway, those are the keeper pieces. They turned out really, really well. I'm just super happy with how the keeper design and the warlord design turned out. I think because they're both large piece factions here, they really just changed all the different faction combinations. There are now so many viable combinations in the game that don't include the cats or even the moles. I think it really blows things out. And then let's get those. Ooh, where are they? Oh, here we go. Let's talk about the mood cards.
Remember to kiss all the badgers when you field them.
You want to pick some favorite moods?
Oh yeah.
Well, as long as they're not these two, because I'm going to use these as backs. Here's the back of the mood cards right there. Some of these pieces. I'm gonna let Patrick pick his favorite mood.
There we go. I like these two.
Yeah, they're now like instead of there being like the caravans are implied in the new keeper design. I'm responding to Marcus the Cat's comment. Marcus the Cat. Now they like have to set down these like trade stations. And then here's the big guy with his flag. Put it down there. What's your two favorite? The bitter.
The bitter and stubborn. I love stubborn. Stubborn. The art for it. I'm not saying Kyle's stubborn. But the art for stubborn channels Kyle the most. You can take the W there, Kyle. It just reminds me of Kyle for some reason. He doesn't even make that gesture very often.
No. But yeah, it's got like there's some of the like Kyle's. He can be faux indignant. He can like pretend.
Yeah, that's it.
It's capturing that a little bit.
Yeah, that is. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So those are the warlords. Oh, I didn't show the.
Just like the fire giant, I always imagined Kyle was the fire giant. Yeah. Flame giant.
There we go. We got a mob. Now, people who are looking really closely will note that there's like a little bit of white around some of these tokens, right? Like here. That's because they were cut with a laser, and they're just going to have those marks. The actual pieces will be punch cut. And then this is the mob die. I'm really impressed with how this dice turned out. Colors are very good. The line works great. It just turned out super
I think I've seen it up close.
Oh yeah, enjoy that.
When these arrive, Cole and I have been in and out of the office quite a bit lately, and when these arrive, you pretty much have to set them aside and let Patty and Nick look at them. So I just kind of, by the time I got back, I was kind of spaced it.
This project, even more than Oath, felt like we were a much larger company making it. Because with Oath, so much was done by like a core small team, but this one was a lot like, nope, there are a lot of hands moving at the same
Everybody
time.
is working on it. It's great. If I did anything right, I made a good team.
Okay, so then you have this tarot card. So we use some tarot cards here. This is the advanced setup aid card, which I know it's super exciting to put a close up of just a
Marshall,
card
can you
with
help
text.
Meatloaf?
But basically, you can use this card to use the draft, and then aiding you in the draft, the Marauder Expansion comes with a complete set of all the faction cards, like so. Here they are. And you can use these when you're setting up your drafts. The Lord of the Hundreds reach, by the way, someone asked another question, it's 9. I think the Keepers is like 7 or 8. Let's find out.
My favorite part about AdSet is that you announced it, and I feel like many people that was the most excited they got about the expansion was a very particular sort of gamer that was like, ooh.
Well, it's so funny because I was like, oh man, advanced setup. People are gonna love this. And then I think Nick or someone had the comment that like the only players who will play AdSet have to know how to play every root faction.
Yeah.
So that's got to be like 5%,
Mm-hmm.
3% of all Root players. But for you, you're going to love having these advanced setup cards. Of course, we include overview cards, just following the tradition. Always an overview card.
Do you think in the future,
Mm-hmm.
future designs will have advanced setup?
Yeah, they'll all. You mean like future non-root titles?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, maybe. It's hard though because you want to like see the meta and kind of like what
Sure.
people want.
I've been thinking about Dungeon Fortress already in terms
It's
of
like having.
what are your first games going to be like, and then
what
what do you
what's
knock
new?
out to
Yeah.
make that? Yeah.
Because I like. I mean, it is the thing that now that we have it, of course, I will always be playing that way.
Right.
And in fact, I've been stewing on some tournament rules for Root, and advanced setup is like a very important part of those tournament rules. Okay, so other things that come in this box. So we've gone through the major factions. The other thing that you're going to get, and I'll keep this in the bag maybe, just because it's going to be hard to clean up. These are the Hireling pieces, the pieces associated with Hirelings. So in order to use the Hirelings, you basically need these pieces. You need 12 of these little contracts. You need these sort of Tetris shapes that are, what are those called? What's the name?
Tetrominoes.
Tetrominoes. You need those to play, to put on the scoreboard, and then you need the little Hireling die. So in order to use the Hirelings, you need this little set. Now, in the future, every product, like this guy, that has Hirelings in it, will have all this stuff in the box. But there's no reason why you would ever need more than one copy of this stuff. And so, because we didn't want to like destroy the planet, we people who got the Kickstarter, you get one set of these because that's all you need. You don't need them to be duplicated in every box.
Just buy it all.
Just buy it all. So then the last thing that's in this expansion are the Hirelings. We have 4 of them. So and every Hireling has 2 variants. So for example, we have the Brigand, and then on the undemoted side, there's the Exile. Here's the Spring Uprising, and then the other side is, I can't even remember what the final name of this one was, the Rabbit Scouts.
There's an Earth enthusiast in the chat.
Earth Enthusiasts.
Mm-hmm. A for planet.
Here's Forest Patrol, or the Feline Physicians. This is one of the first images for the expansion that Kyle drew. And then here is the Last Dynasty, which is the Eerie Hireling, and then the Bluebird Nobles on the back. I love that stuffy looking bird.
I empower you to take a marker and change it back to Rat Hood if you want.
Yes.
That's fine.
There was many conversations about that in the office. The Brigands, what animal are the Brigands? They look like weasels, maybe?
They're weasels in Path, so
Yeah.
boy hope.
Yeah, I know it's weaselish, I'd say. I didn't like Kyle. What's the side difference? So, when you're playing, so I'll just fan them out and show you how it works. It's very simple. If you're playing with 3 players, will I have room to do this? Maybe. If you're playing with 3 players, you use all 3 of them on their like undemoted side. And then when you add a player to the game, so if you're playing with 2 players rather, you use all of them on this side. The cute side. If you have 3 players, you take one of them and you flip it to its demoted side, which basically means that it still can affect the game, but there are going to be less pieces moving around. And then if you're playing with 4 or more players, you put 2 of them on their demoted side like this. And it lets the Hirelings scale to any count. Now I will say that the Hirelings are very much like Root Plus. So people who really love playing Root, I think when Root came out, Patter, you told me that you really enjoyed the 5-player game.
Mm-hmm.
And then it took me a while to like really sit down and play the 5-player game after publication and see what it was about. And it has like a totally different, much like bigger, wilder feel. Mm-hmm. And I think for folks who will love that feeling, the Hirelings are for you because it's Root Plus. It's like Root as more of a breathing world game, whereas the lower player counts are a little bit more tactical.
It needs more. Yeah, I think you have to be more careful about the factions too in 5, but
Yeah.
to kind of fill rules at that point. I think I have played Friday night on the Woodland Warriors with 4 militant factions, and it was
That's a different.
It was
experience.
bananas.
It was a different experience.
Maybe 5.
And then, of course, all those hireling cards are associated with different pieces. I'll put a few down right here. Here are some members of the. Whoops, that's the Cat Patrol. Well, actually, I'll show you. This Cat Patrol guy got a little scarred. That's especially common in pre-production copies because they have to get these to you as fast as they can so that the paint doesn't dry. No big deal. Yeah, I feel like I play a lot of 3-player Root because we use it in testing a lot. But I'm coming around to 5. Maybe, I don't know, 4 or 5 is my favorite. It's interesting seeing people talking about Oath as like exactly a 4-player game. Because like I like Oath with 3, I also really like Oath with 5. I just think I've even enjoyed games of Oath with 6, but you just really have to have fast players.
Sure.
If you have one slow player at the table, you can't play Oath with 6. Yeah, there's that big.
We played a 5-player game in the office, and it's still going on.
Yeah, I think Garrick. I think I might be coming around to that position.
Ooh.
We'll see.
Stop clicking this pen.
You can click the pen as much as you like.
I own the company.
That's true. You own the pen. Probably.
Yep. I bought this at Wet Paint on 3rd Avenue.
That's my art store too. For all the time. There you go. Nice.
I bought a sable brush. It was gorgeous.
All right, so that's a view of all the different Hireling pieces. There are a lot. I mean, I think when it comes to like the weight of this box, it's almost as heavy as Underworld, or it's a little heavier, and that's coming from all the wood. That is good. That is just put in there. Okay. Let's go to the next thing. Put all this away. Hopefully that gives you a sense of what's going to be in the core Marauder box. There's, it's just a lot of stuff. Like of the 4 hirelings, you'll only use 3 at a time. So even in just that basic 4 hireling, there's a lot of combinations that can kind of come up. Whoops. I forgot to show these. The bear has 3 of these little clubs that he uses to go bash players on the head.
I've done it.
It's good. And then, here's the. I'll do a zoom in on the hireling die. There it is, the little stars. And if you're winning, you only use the bright stars, and if you're anyone else, you use all the stars to determine how many contracts you put on. Okay.
That was a cool innovation at the end.
Yes.
How they come in.
Yeah. There are hirelings, tricky piece of design work. Nick did a really good job on the development, figuring out the right way to get them to come in at the right time.
Because you think a lot about you want to advantage the player to lead because they got there, but you also don't want to. Obviously, you don't want to do that because they're richer.
And you don't want to totally unbalance the entire. There's all these weird concerns.
I think we're both dealing with that a lot right now in our own design practice.
Yeah, I think that's right. Let's put these here. Okay, I'm going to put everything back in this box. It's more or less correct.
Knowing Cole, that is correct, SP Shaman.
Can we zoom in on the hireling die? It's the contrast is super high. Yeah, let me show you that better. Here we go. I don't know if you can see that. Oh, I have this on a fixed focus, don't I? It's very clear in person.
Yeah, it's the greatest I've ever seen.
It's a perfect die. There's no die that is better than it. Okay, so then all the stuff goes back, and this is again, when we have a little library cabinet in the studio that we use to store our PPCs in, and we work like good librarians. We work hard to make sure it stays organized. All right, that's Marauder. Time for landmarks.
Time for landmarks.
Boop. There's the landmarks. Whoops. They'll have a little tuck box, and there are 4 of them. And this much credit goes to Nick on this product. He we like wanted a small root product that someone who like doesn't necessarily even play a ton of root but wants to expand their game a little bit can buy. And Nick came up and executed this. He did a great job. And it doesn't even come with a little booklet. In fact, it just has like the landmark rules, which I think are in the law as well, are just on a card like that, and it teaches you how to do their setup. And then every landmark has a card that has a little card on it. Yep. So you just have little landmark cards right here. Yeah, they turned out great. There are 4 of them. And then the tower and the raft, which are in the Underworld expansion, are now universal pieces. You can use them in any game. Here are the 4 pieces. There's the treetop, the market, the anvil, and the lost city. Whoops.
I'm not even a little joking. Sometimes I wake up in a cold sweat thinking you guys put the tower into the landmarks pack also. I'm like, they're going to get 2 meeples.
They're going to get 2 meeples.
And then I realize I'm silly.
Yeah, I really like how these pieces turned out. Very clear. Oh yeah, go ahead. We included the cards because we needed a place to put the rules for these, and then of course also like you can use them to randomize to figure out which ones you want to put on there.
It's very good.
Yeah, they're pretty happy with how they turned out. It's good little landmarks. All right, and then let me take those.
Good job, Nick, if you're watching.
Yeah, if you're watching, even though he's probably working. He's probably working anyway. Did the tower and raft get new cards? Yes, their cards are in here, so they can be randomized.
Yeah, I just wake up in a sweat thinking that they put 2 meeples in.
Right.
Yeah. No, there's a card.
Okay, so then we also have the Riverfolk Hireling pack, the first of the Hireling packs. Keep in mind that this will come with that little, if you buy this at retail, it will come with the Hireling die and the whole pieces you need. They look like this. Here are the punch boards for those pieces. How exciting, punch board. Woo! And then in terms of the pieces, this is pretty typical Hireling pack fare. You get, these out, woo! It's like probably my favorite single meeple from this expansion is this like Riverfolk boat. I love.
Maybe like the beat up cats or something.
I've come around. I think originally they were like they seemed too like piratey or something. But I do really like. Then here are the other pieces that you get. So a nice little selection of wooden pieces, and then of course there are cards. I'm going to keep these in their bags just so I don't slowly take things out. But these cards follow the same logic as the other cards. They've got demoted and undemoted sides. And then every Hireling product has this little book of Hireling rules, which is the smallest rule book, I think. But it just goes through how you play with the Hirelings. And if you, I don't even know, if you kickstart back, I don't know if you even get this because it's in the actual Learn to Play.
Sure.
Or you might get one. Cool. Yeah, the meeples are they're feeling great.
I like how this work we did for shows, essentially.
Yeah.
All these little things to sell, and then we're not going to shows still.
Yeah,
we'll
for
get
stores, though.
We'll get there, yeah.
I'll show you some things about that. Put these pieces in.
Garrett says punchboard's exciting.
Yeah, punchboard is exciting.
What if the root TTS made you punch the pieces every time you loaded it up?
You don't have to buy the root TTS, but you do need to complete this.
You need to click through everything.
And then here we have the Underworld, and I'll just show you kind of how these boxes work a little bit. This is gonna be kind of weird on the art, but like you'll be able to see here that we have here's the Underworld Hireling pack, and then here's the Riverfolk Hireling pack. And these boxes are they're about a little larger than a tarot size, and then they're maybe as thick as 2 decks of cards, so they'll sit on the store. I'm really glad this didn't fall.
Bang.
Bang.
I'm really into Punchboard Simulator, which was suggested in the chat.
Okay, I'm a liar. This is actually my favorite meeple.
Really?
I love the big stack. I think it's great. The bear is fine. The bear is good, but the stack I think is my fave. This one, the Underworld Hireling pack, gives you the moles and the crows with glasses. Some moles down. There's a mole.
The deer is very big, and is dear to us.
And then the moles were one of the very first hirelings ever designed, and their power has changed almost unchanged from the early versions of the hirelings.
That's because the moles are amazing.
That's because the moles are awesome. And then I love that the art on both of the protectors is good. So here's the undemoted protector, and then so you use this in low player count games, and then this one is the demoted one. Which
I
is
think the
Stoic protector.
Excuse me. I think the Corvids being blue is just yeah.
They're like different from the Eerie blue though. It's like more of a purpley.
I think the camera's also.
Oh yeah,
the
sorry,
camera's
the camera might be messing it up. No, we did some very careful color matching. Like you can never color match perfectly, but the color, we did match them internally, and they're all good to go.
It's really just the Logitech camera. It's not.
Yeah, this is it's
not the printing.
What you all are not seeing is my jury rigged setup here.
Yeah, it's also sitting on blue, and we've got fluorescent light bulbs, so you're gonna get some wash then.
Okay, let me get these.
That's the extent of my graphic design experience.
Happy to report, Root remains very colorblind friendly. Despite the fact that there are now a lot of factions. 12? No, that can't be right.
12.
No, wait, that's not right though. Is it? Oh my god, you're right, it is. No. It's 10. 4 plus 2.
2 plus 2 plus 2 is 10.
Oh my gosh, yes. There's a lot of Root, and it's still colorblind friendly, so everybody give Kyle a round of applause.
Just for the record, I walked in, I took Zyrtec minutes before I walked into this. So.
It's alright, we're having a good time. Okay, I'm gonna change how these bags work because stop putting the bag in the box. So the reason why I stopped putting the bag in the box, don't panic, y'all. Oh, you get it, you see me struggling. Is because we have all the bags in here too that come with the game because we of course include bags. Bags for the people.
Thanks.
And so I have to just make so like these boxes are actually fuller than they're ever going to be. Okay, it's there and
Oh boy, if we're getting questions on Facebook,
uh-oh.
I apologize because our person is not feeding them to us right now. Whoopsie doopsie. So if you are over there,
I don't have my Slack.
just ping me on Twitter or I don't know. Marshall will get over there and check.
I can leave my Slack. Boop.
Yeah. I have Slack open. Oh no, we are getting questions.
I'm taking care of it. Yes, you are, Brooke.
All right, thanks, Brooke.
I can't zoom out on that though. So.
Brooke,
What about a big bag to hold the? We will be. We heard the calls for Root big bag. So we're doing a giant bag, put it all in. And then the very last thing, of course, is well, not the last thing. The second to last thing is this Hireling Box. I'll make sure there we go. Boop. The Hireling Box. A couple things about this. So in retail, I'll show you all what it will look like in retail. So you will get a box that looks like this. But if you had bought it at a store, it would look like this, so that it matches the other Hireling boxes. And one thing I'll say about this is, and then you can just take that off, and then on the retail, because as cool as this box is, you can't really use it in a store. So like here's the back of the box. That's not going to sell anything. So we have a box back cover that will go here that people can use to see what's actually in the box.
and hopefully we've intercepted 20 to 30 BDG posts about what's in these boxes.
Yes, my goodness. We described it so many times. And every hireling, even the hirelings in the Marauder box, will fit in this box with room to spare. So this box, the way, like, here's how I imagine, because I'm a big proponent of this box, because what I, like, in my personal route set, I'm going to put the landmarks in here, I'm going to put the advanced setup stuff in here, I'm going to put all the hirelings in here. Mm-hmm. And so this is the box that I use to figure out what kind of route that we're going to play. Mm-hmm. It's like the first box that I open up, we do the draft, and then once we've done the draft, I'll put the decks probably in here. Mm-hmm. And once we do the draft, we're ready to go.
We strongly recommend that if you plan on owning a complete route collection, you move to the Midwest so you can have a house large enough to store.
Yeah, exactly. We are showing our Midwestern game studio roots by designing these games with 1 million expansions. I described this little box when I was talking to the team as like, this is the door. This is like the little key that unlocks the rest of the board stuff. Okay, so then in this one, we'll just do a fast version here. You got 3 new hirelings. You got these. These are the, I can't remember what they're called, the little torch guys. They're pretty scary. I
believe the little torch guys is
the actual name. Yeah. This flute meeple, maybe this is my favorite one.
It's pretty awesome.
And then I really like this one too. The silver just looks good. Looks good on route.
I think those are the route party boys. Yeah, and the silver ones are
the vault guys.
Tankers.
And so this box comes with the Marauder hirelings. So you get the minstrels, the hirelings that correspond to the keepers, and the hirelings that correspond to the warlords. And it's, this is the box that has, obviously, like looking at it here, it's like largely empty, but it's empty because it fits all the other stuff. Yes, so if you pre-ordered the Hireling box, like that $80 tier level, when you get a box in the mail, you're going to get these things, okay, if you did the $80 level. All of those little boxes I was showing you are in here.
Yeah.
They're not the actual physical box, but all the pieces that are in them are in here. This is going to be a heavy, dense box filled with good stuff. Okay. See, Garrett knows.
Root small box.
Yeah, that's fine. You want to ask for a big box again? See what happens. Okay. Last thing is Clockwork Expansion 2, which is very heavy. I haven't opened this up in a while, so.
Well, good luck.
We'll see. More lovely Clockwork art from Kyle. I love that. The Clockwork art is great. We went ahead and followed the basic plan of the Law of Root with the Law of Root box here. So this also includes all of the rules from the old set, as well as new and expanded tutorials for the lizards and stuff. So there's like longer examples and some lovely pages. Mm-hmm. And then of course you get all the different bots. I won't bother to go through these in super detail. We also did a reprint of the Eerie board. So here's the Eerie board with the fix, because of that little late stage typo. So we've got that for everybody. And then all the other bots are right here, and they're wonderful. They're really good. I think, let's see, the one I think my favorite personally is the Drill Bit Duchy over here. They feel like the most like a player. Like they feel like the most like inhabited as all the bots. But all the bots are great. Benjamin Schmaus did a great job. Appreciate Marshall's work developing. And also our 2 summer interns were fantastic. Kaylee and Lita. They did, one of their first projects was joining Marshall and I on bot playtests. And so they played a lot of these games. Then, unlike the first one, we have a big... you guys are definitely the 5% for the advanced setup. We have a big stack of cards here, which are the difficulty levels for all the bots, and then there are also some like added fun behaviors and challenges for the older bots. Like here's the Scoundrel. You can play with the Eerie with them. Like there's a new trait. They're focused. The Riverfolk bot is really cool, and we have all these advanced and basic services where the Riverfolk can like essentially negotiate with the players as they're playing. So yeah, lots of good bot stuff got added in here. So much root. Just so much root.
So much root. I still haven't even... I've barely scratched the bot expansions at home.
Yeah, I use the marquee one a fair bit.
I learned them for playtesting.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's just hard. I mean, I like, when we're playing, so much of my root play is root play for work, which is a great thing. But it does mean that, like, my personal at-home set is not played very much at all. We usually just play a work.
The component. Okay, that's just sure.
Law question: the fifth printing. Oh, I see.
The component section. It's not actually missing.
I believe that was fixed. Yes, I don't know offhand because I'm not in charge of that.
Yeah.
I don't know offhand. We usually keep anytime there are small like points of errata like that. We have a big spreadsheet and a Google Doc that those things get added to, and whenever we do a new printing, we try to fix all the errors and get it up to snuff. Okay.
Despite accusations to the contrary.
Yes, we do our best to keep it above board. So yeah, that's all the new root stuff. If you backed at the max level, you're gonna get like this big stack of new root. This is like mountains of root. This is root for days. And then if you're not sure if you want to expand root or anything like that, don't worry, we got your back. When this stuff starts coming to retail next year, you'll be able to get it all, and you can get it kind of piecemeal or however you'd like to get it. But yeah, it's in production right now. We don't really know much more than that. It's in production. It will continue being in production.
I do, but I'm not going to say anything.
Well, I know we can't. We can't.
Oh, I
exactly
see.
Yeah. Well, maybe not post Italy, so I might be.
It's a lot to keep track of. And Marshall's job is complicated.
Yeah. There are many boats. The problem with Earth is that there's all this water. It's also the best thing about it. And you've got to put things on boats.
Yeah, it's been crazy. Getting all this stuff here lately.
Yeah,
We're doing okay.
And this, the root expansions are funny because they really do require a lot of staff. And we started really in earnest on the root stuff like October last year. Mm-hmm. That's a pretty good turnaround for the amount of new stuff that we generated.
Yep.
Because we submitted Oath to the factory about this time last year.
I mean, there was Bones of the Warlord in my notes from the original run. Yeah. But there wasn't, because it used to be Pugnacious.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But like it got through the pipeline pretty fast.
I'm still working in Pugnacious somehow. He's gonna be in the path.
Yeah. So play your unplayed games in the meantime. Have your palate cleansed because when the root stuff happens, it's gonna happen.
You could also just call my house and tell me which unplayed game to play, and I'll get on it.
Okay. Let me before we talk about design stuff, I want to.
We only got like 10 minutes anyway, so let's just do Q&A.
Okay, we'll just do Q&A.
Yeah.
Before we do Q&A, quickly, if you pre-order the Fort Cats and Dogs expansion, it'll be shipping pretty shortly. It's shipping now.
Yeah.
It's shipping now, but it will take a while to get your copy.
That was kind of a surprise from Alice yesterday morning or this morning.
Yeah,
like, oh, by the way.
Yeah, all those things are going.
We're shipping.
And I cannot wait for folks to see the Cats and Dogs expansion. It's one of my favorite things the company's ever produced, and I barely worked on it. It was great. It was like Nick, I remember when he showed me it after he'd been working on it a bunch with Grant, and I played it and I was like, well, this is just wonderful. And I think it's great. Yeah.
That's good, yeah. It's a good proof of them on the studio.
It is the most I have played one of our products at home has been Fort with Cats and Dogs.
Mm-hmm.
It just keeps coming to our table. All right, so let's do Q&A. If any, can we send updates?
So they keep asking for, which is, I mean, I get it. When's the print and play?
Oh, okay. So usually the print and play is released along with the retail release of the game. We are making some exceptions because of the Root Winter Tournament. So we will probably, within the next several weeks, make sure all of the files, or what will probably happen is we'll just release JPEGs that are pretty good.
When's the Winter Tournament starting?
I think we're planning it right now, but I think it's usually.
we'd offered them a board for the final round at some point.
Maybe, I don't know.
We need the really fast turnaround board.
We'll see.
Okay.
I can't commit. Yeah, sorry, I'm not trying to step on anyone's news. I'll let other people. It'll be a TTS affair.
Yeah.
And I'm very interested in how they're going to run it. And I'll probably start the process of getting looped in on those things. But we would like to start posting JPEGs and stuff and making the print and play kit sometime in the next month and a half or so. There are some things that have to happen before that. So like right now, Nick is super booked, and I am super booked, and Patty is super booked, and we are the three people who have the ability and time to prepare that kit, or we have the ability to do it, not the time. But there might be some space in the schedule opening up once a couple things move around. Do you want to talk about Future Vast?
Yeah, I'd love to. Future Vast is we are out of Crystal Caverns, essentially effectively out of Crystal Caverns. I think we have a few left, but I'm saving those for like partners and things like that. Yeah. And Mysterious Manor is down to its last 4,000 or so in the warehouse, which is
good.
Probably puts it sold out October 2022. That's kind of where we're looking to finish it. And had a lot of discussion about it, like here and there, about what to do. My plan is once I'm through this round of like scene rebuilding I've been doing at home for Warcry, is I will. I've been doing a couple side projects for fun, and I think I'm going to make frozen beer just for fun, and then I'll show that to people. But I wouldn't be heartbroken if it's not published. It's kind of my place where I'm at with it.
And it's currently not on the schedule, and our schedule goes out about a year and a half.
Yeah.
Or 2 years, but it could be on the schedule after that.
Yeah. Or if we found like a developer that could specialize in it, then we decide to do. It's funny because we were like during the game day when you weren't here, we were like I was teaching people how to play Mysterious Manor. I'm like, I'm sad this didn't do better, and then I was like, but it sold 21,000 copies.
Yeah,
which is a good number for many publishers.
No, my attitude about Bass has always been that I think it does make sense to do a proper reboot at some point. I do think there's like a hunger and interest in it.
Mm-hmm.
We just have to think really carefully about how it looks.
Yeah, it's Vast 3 I could be working on just for fun, and then when we start working on it, I can bring it in. Yeah. And then there's been discussion of what we would do with Crystal Caverns, because I think Crystal Caverns needs a new edition.
Mm-hmm. Studio updates. Boat game Ahoy is going super well.
Yeah?
Like, we're starting to get a bunch of art from it. It's looking lovely on the table. And Nick's doing a really good job on the design. It is what I told Nick about the design right before I left my trip was, it's possible that the game is done without any structural changes. That like every change that needs to be made to the design can be made by just adjusting like card powers and numbers. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of an exciting place for the design to be. Like it's very close.
I haven't played it. I need to. It's easy for Cole and I to get like, we're in our little ivory towers of design right now, so.
Yeah, I am so like shut off in my own world about the project I'm working on. Space game's going well. It's like stuck, but in a productive way. Like sometimes I feel like when you're working on a design, you get stuck and you feel like nothing's changing. Uh-huh. This is I'm in a generative stuck point where I'm just trying to think about why it needs to exist and why it isn't. Like this is a thing I've told Patrick occasionally, which is kind of an asinine thing to say, but I'll say it. Is like, why not make X a root faction? Like, if you have a design idea for like, I've got this cool, I've got a cool strategy game. It does this. It's like, well, that could just be a root faction, and it would sell more copies if it were just a root faction, right? Like, not even from like a cynical standpoint of like, if you want your cool design idea to get to the world, does it make sense to fold it within an existing product, or is it its own thing? And with the space game, I'm like, what is stopping this from just being like an Oath expansion or a root expansion? And that process has been really generative. So I'm hoping the next time we have a design chat, I have a lot of stuff to share about it, because it's starting to get close. And the core action structure has been pretty strong. How's Dungeon Fortress?
It's good. I lost my production assistant at the end of the summer, and we were literally putting a new iteration of the game on the table every day, which was brutal. I would like come in, we would make a new version of the game quick, and then I would play it, and then I would work or calm down the rest of the afternoon, because she only worked during the mornings and left, and then I would do company stuff. But it was good. We got a lot done. I just kind of took a breather here for a couple weeks, and but no, we're good. We're still wrestling. You know, you and Nick fairly asked me what's this game about, and so I don't design that way, and so I'm trying to write that down because maybe that's important that I talk about what the game's about. And but for me, I design at a much more intuitive level, I think, and so for me that question can be answered much later in the process and still come up with something viable. So I'm working on that, and right now we're having a lot of conversations about how cool the map can be and what sort of storytelling it can have. I've been looking at a lot of 3D designs that I want to do, and maybe those designs just have to be held off to later, as like an expansion or something like that, and see if I can get those. And then just a lot of like there's things that we've cut during the design, and I'm trying to put back in now that we have the right way to express the language of the game is working very well for us. And so, for instance, combat got really simplified. But on the way to that, I removed raiding and sieging, and so now it's time to put raiding and sieging back because they affect the victory conditions they're very directly mapped to the victory conditions. So I need to work this back in. A really cool tripped on a really cool deck-based combat system that I've really cool. Yeah, I've been really enjoying. Where it's just you flip over cards and you're trying to win. I call it the coup system. You're trying to win the most cards from the other player when you're in a fight, and each card then just describes what you have to do to win it. So you generally know what you have to do to win a fight, but you're not going to know until you get there.
It's like one of the most interesting ways of folding like a combat results table into, like, imagine, I mean, like, the logic to me seems like, imagine there are 12 combat criteria.
Yeah.
We're going to randomly select 6 of them.
That'll be important.
Or 5 of them.
Yeah.
And whoever wins the majority of those 5 wins the battle.
Right.
And it allows you to put such granularity in combat, and also it has really good narrative beats. I love it. I think it's great.
And Voidlich it started with a similar system, but it wasn't as granular, and because it was like generally you win for having the most military, but there could be others winning. Yeah. No, before the dice. Before you got
I don't know.
Yeah, before you got it. So.
Yes,
and then if you had the highest level of intelligence on another player, you could you could mess with the deck and stuff like that. So that'll be back in there. So so I'm working on that, and then just trying to I'm struggling with that line of I want the players to be able to power make cool stuff and level up their effectively level up their character, right? And then they need to play a character in the game.
Yeah. And
is it do you want the player in front to do it? Do you want the player that's in back to do it? How much does the player in back? How much advantage do they get, and so on? So we're answering those questions right now.
Yeah, it's interesting. And I'll say when it comes to schedule, these are the games that will be maybe crowdfunding this year and trying to figure out when they're going to release and all that stuff. But we actually don't know precisely when any of these release windows are going to be out. We're really thankful that we're able to. I mean, this is part of the growth that Root has helped the studio realize, where we have more titles in our pipeline than we could possibly even publish at the moment, which is a perfect problem because it allows us to be more selective and to really cook on things. Somebody asked about the tournament rules. That I'll just say very briefly because I don't want to get into super specifics before I've really talked to folks in the community. But it would be a digital release, and it would be a thing that anybody. I don't know if I would write a little script to do it, or if I would just release the rules and somebody a lot smarter than me could write a much better script. But it would be something that anybody could do. If they wanted to run a Root tournament with any number of players, this is how it could look. I think I really like what I've seen from the Root tournament so far. I would love for there to be, I'd love for them to be a little bit more open and loose, and this kind of does that. Yeah, this kind of does that work. Did you miss the update on cats and dogs shipping? It's shipping now. That's the update. Yes, you'll get it at some point soon, hopefully. They kind of, as Patrick mentioned, they kind of surprised us in getting it.
Yeah, and I don't we haven't seen their velocity yet, or
Yeah, I don't know if I've seen any pictures of people starting to get their copies.
No, that would be impossible.
But but maybe in a week or so.
Yeah,
we'll start
we
to
just
see
don't know
this.
if they're going to do 100 a day or 500 a day or
It is a very small box.
Yeah, it's a very small product.
Cool. All right. Are there any other questions? Let me look over. My mouse is not happy with me. Let me look to make sure we're not forgetting any other questions. Everything. Okay. Which part of the... Oh, somebody asked about the... We already talked about the law root. Just like, the law itself hasn't changed. The biggest thing is we just added a bunch of pages. Because what had been happening... So when you do print layout, you always have to keep things in multiples of 4 because of how they do booklet printing. And so whenever we're... and you can see this most profoundly, I think, with the law of oath, if you have one handy. You can see like the margins get like a little tight on some of the pages because we really don't want to have to add another page to the law of oath because it would mean adding 4 pages. And with root, we were at like one of those, I think like the last law of root was like 16. And then we knew we were going to add like 4 more pages of material, but it was a little bit more than 4 pages, so we went ahead and just jumped all the way up to 24 pages, and that gave us a lot of room to like put in a couple more like cross references and things like that. So,
Does someone want to bring us Margot in the studio?
oh yeah,
We'll show Margot off
we can totally show Margot off.
if they want to. If that for the person that was responsible for marketing wants to show Margot, I hear activity out there.
I'm just gonna go get Margot. Okay, I'm gonna go with Margot. I'll be right back.
Oh no!
Patrick,
Don't say anything weird. I just did it. Aw.
It's Margot.
Aw. Yay.
I'm so glad someone handed this because I would have picked the wrong Margot. We have 4 of them right now or something.
Right.
And they're all a little different.
Yeah.
Just like the head's a little less stuffed or more stuff you can
Thank you.
show it off. I think it's the most complicated plush we've made.
Yeah, and probably the hardest to juggle.
Yep.
So-
Hardest to juggle. Watch out. The cape is very good. I like just the details. It's so funny seeing Kyle talk about the plushes because he'll be very specific. Like, okay, this like cuff needs to actually be like a sleeve or something.
Mm-hmm.
And I always get I don't want to I get very Midwestern about stuff like that where I'm like, oh, it looks fine.
Yeah.
And I think it's always good to see Kyle's revisions because he's like, no, like this trim is like not right.
Right.
And it's very subtle and small things. Question about root availability. This is why this is correct. Root availability is there will be some.
Yeah, we're getting them in right now.
Yeah.
They're going back out to distributors. We got like the.
We
Marshall can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we just got the 7th printing and the 8th printing is getting loaded into the boats right now.
Or
is it the 8th that's coming in slowly?
I don't think the 8th has happened yet. I think the 7th. See, I was gone a week, so I don't know. I think the 7th and Underworld are both here now.
Right, but all I know is containers have arrived. They're full.
Yeah. I think. Don't worry if you're looking for a copy of. Okay.
Probably 8th hasn't yet been fired.
Good. I was like, I haven't even approved some of the little adjust. Actually, that's Oath. Never mind. We are getting ready. We're in like an Oath reprint.
Yep.
And we're getting ready to print some more Oath.
And we're even talking about 3. So
yeah. So I have to start going through, making sure that everything is all hunky dory.
I need my money to print.
Yeah. Well, we need more print bandwidth to print. All right. Well, I think even you can understand those. So you don't. Nevis Gaines, sorry. I screw up the rules for my own games all the time. In fact, I think that the price of working in game design is that you never get to play your own games.
Yeah.
That's the bargain. You get to build them, and then you don't get to enjoy them. You don't get to cross over the promised land. But that's okay. It's worth it. So I screw up rules constantly. It takes so much work to just hold on to them until you can hand the ball to somebody else or cross the production finish line, and then it is a blissful forgetting when you just let them all.
Did you ever read about Jervis Johnson? He was the designer of like the 4th and 5th edition of Warhammer, and he may have been in before then, but he they couldn't let him play Warhammer.
Yeah.
Because he'd get so stressed out about the rules during the game. That they had to like literally his friends would be like, no, we have to play Ancients with you, or like so they'd play like Romans and Greek, not High Elves and Dark Elves, yeah, because he would panic when he played the games that he worked on, yeah. So
scary. There's a famous triangle drawn by a wargame designer named Alan Emmerich, maybe, which is that you only get to pick 2 of playing games, talking about games, and making games.
Oh, sure.
And so I chose to make games and talk about games. I don't really get to play anymore. And that's how it goes. All right. Well, thank you all for tuning in. We will be back next week, or not next week, next month, October. Nothing's happening next week. In October, we'll be back for our spookiest design stream. Talk about Halloween games, maybe. I'll have some space game stuff to show, maybe.
My brother's watching.
Oh.
My brother Barry. No, that's...
Oh, Barry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Maybe Tober's here, too.
Yeah, maybe.
All right. Well, take care, everyone. Have a wonderful day, and we will talk to you all later.
Yeah.